Welcome to Nature Health Benefits Live, a virtual learning experience brought to you by the USDA Forest Service and the Natural Enquirer. I'm your host today, Farah Masumi. And in this series, we've been exploring about why being out in nature is good for your physical, mental, and emotional health. If you want to learn more about what those health benefits are, we talked about them in our previous episodes. So when you're done with this Q&A, you might as well go and check those out too. Hint, hint. All of these episodes are available on the Natural Enquirer YouTube channel. There are 3 in total. Episode 1 was about nature and your physical health. In this episode, we learned about how being in nature is related to better physical health. Being in nature is associated with better heart health, like lower blood pressure, improvements in diabetes and asthma, lower stress levels, and other physical benefits, like helping us exercise more effectively or increasing our levels of vitamin D. In episode 2 was all about nature and your mental health. In this episode, we learned about the associations between being in nature and improved mental health. Being in nature may help lower our stress levels, which is good for both of our physical and mental health. Being in nature may also help us think more creatively, focus better, and recover from mental fatigue. Another benefit of being in nature is how being outside encourages more social connection and helps us feel more connected to our communities. Finally, in episode 3 was all about one research study that has been done to find out how nature can impact our health. In this study, researchers wanted to know how vacant lots in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, were impacted by nearby residents' feelings of mental health. Some vacant lots received trash pickup treatments, some received greening treatments, and some received no treatment. The researchers asked nearby residents about their mental health both before the treatment and after, and found out that residents near greened lots showed significant improvements in some areas of their mental health. So that's our overview of the last 3 episodes. Be sure to watch them for more details on health benefits of nature. But what does that leave for today? Well, today is all about you all, the viewers. We've done enough talking, so we want to hear from you. Feel free to share any questions you have about nature health benefits with us. Just comment on this video while we're live on the Natural Enquirer YouTube channel, and we have some knowledgeable experts standing by who will be happy to answer you. Our experts include Rachel Baer and Susan Cox with the USDA Forest Service, as well as Brady McDonald and Jessica Nicholson with the Natural Enquirer. If you want from the Natural Enquirer, those are coming from our official experts. But our online experts aren't the only folks helping us today. I'm very excited to have some health professionals with me to talk live about nature health benefits. Christy Haas-Howard joins us from the National Environmental Education Foundation, or NEEF, while Monica Darien and Michelle Kondo are from the Forest Service. Christy, it's great having you here. Would you like to say hi?
Hi, Farah. Happy to be here today. I'm Christy Haas-Howard, and I'm a registered nurse.
Fantastic. Now let's welcome Monica.
Thanks, Farah. Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Darien, and I'm a research social scientist.
So great to have you with us today. And Michelle.
Hi, Farah. It's great to be here today. I'm Michelle Kondo, and I am also a research social scientist with the U.S. Forest Service.
Thank you so much for joining us. But that's enough about us for right now. What questions do you all have watching the program? What do you have questions about nature health benefits? Remember to type them in the comments below. If you're in a classroom, let us know the name of your school, so we can give you a shout out. In fact, here are some of the schools who are watching with us today. Athens Montessori Middle School from Athens, Georgia. Thanks for being here. Benton Middle School from Manassas, Virginia. Thank you so much for coming. AI Jekalika Middle School from Proctor, Minnesota. Thanks for being here. St. Michael Middle School East from St. Michael, Minnesota. And Campton Elementary School from Campton, New Hampshire. Thank you all for joining us today. We had a lot of questions come into us before we went live, so let's start with some of those questions. All right, this first question is for you, Christy, and comes from us from Benton Middle School in Virginia. Christy, can you spend too much time outside? Are there any negative impacts from being outside or being outside for too long?
That's a great question. Generally, you cannot spend too much time outside. However, you do need to be aware of how the weather, temperature, and climate are affecting you. If it's too cold and you're not bundled up enough, or if it's too hot and you're not hydrating properly, or you're getting a lot of sun and not wearing sunscreen, exposure to the elements can have a negative impact on your health. However, fortunately, there are things that you can do, like bundling up for cold weather and keeping a water bottle with you to hydrate on a hot day, and wear sunscreen when you're out in the sun. Also, if you're wondering about air quality or think your area is affected by wildfire smoke and you want to go outside, you can go to airnow.gov to find out about your air quality.
Fantastic. Those are really great tips and resources that you shared with us. This next question is for Monica, and it comes from to us from Jedlicka Middle School in Minnesota. Monica, are there different health benefits if you're outside in the snow versus outside in green?
That's a great question, and I'm not surprised it comes from someplace with snowy winters like Minnesota. Not all nature is green. So my first thought is that many of the elements of an outdoor experience in a snowy area and in an area with lots of exposed vegetation are probably kind of similar. You're experiencing fresh air, sunlight, moving around, playing with your friends or family or dog. But I'd expect some differences too. What's the effect of air and water temperatures on what you experience? Maybe you see or touch plants or soil less because they're covered in snow or ice. The soundscape is probably different. Maybe you hear fewer birds or less running water. These are all factors that have been associated with health benefits. But the beauty or novelty of snow may spark your interest or fascination in a different way, and that could improve your mood. Overall, I guess there are some small differences, but many of the same patterns that we've talked about throughout this series would still hold. But the benefits of snowy places have been studied a lot less than some other environments, and it deserves a lot of attention. So good ideas coming out of Minnesota.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it would be really cool to see more research projects about those snowy environments. So our next question is for Michelle, and it also comes from Jedlicka Middle School. Michelle, would spending time in a different biome other than parks or forests have the same health benefits? For example, like what if you were in the desert or the beach?
Thanks for this question. Yeah, there are all sorts of natural landscapes that are not dominated by trees and plants, such as deserts, beaches, coastlines. I would say that most of the research on natural landscapes and how they affect human health have really been focused on green or vegetated spaces. And there have been very few studies that compare vegetated to other natural landscapes in terms of their health benefits. But we do know that being in green space can benefit our health in three primary ways. So it can protect us from harm, like from pollution, as Monica mentioned. It can restore our attention and help us recover from stress. And it can help us get physically active or get our physical activity and connect with others. And these are things that all kinds of natural environments, including beaches and deserts, can do for us.
Great. It sounds like another opportunity for maybe one of you to do a research project. Thank you so much for sharing. Here's another question for Christy from St. Michael Middle School. Is there an optimal amount of time to spend outside? What amount of time should you shoot for?
Thank you for that question. There was a study published in Scientific Reports in 2019 that suggests that spending at least 120 minutes a week in nature is associated with good health and well-being. And I will emphasize at least 120 minutes. Another study by the National Recreation and Parks Association in 2021 showed that spending at least 20 minutes a day outside reduces stress.
Great. Yeah. I think I always do my best to try to get outside for at least a little bit. So I actually have a schedule in my calendar to make sure that I take a break and go outdoors. And it could just be in your backyard, or if you have a balcony. Fantastic. So here's another question from Monica. It seems like a few different schools have this question. How many houseplants do you have to receive the maximum amount of health benefits?
Great question. You're thinking like a scientist asking about the dose of nature that's associated with health benefits. The scientific literature offers some insights into this. In terms of numbers, one experimental study tested the effects of the area of a room that was physically covered by plants. And the scientists also considered the proximity of those plants to people and whether the plants were visible or not. When the scientists assessed people's emotional states and their comfort in various configurations of this room, they found that the amount of plants that people could see was more important than the actual number of plants or even the distance between people and plants. This suggests it's not just about the number of plants that's important, but also their placement. As far as the other part of the question, I also hear you asking, when do you reach that maximum amount of health benefits from houseplants? And I'm not sure about that. I haven't seen good evidence that suggests when benefits begin to plateau or even begin to taper off. Maybe it's when the plants start getting in the way of doing other important things in your house. That's one hypothesis. But it's also to remember that not all species of plants improve things like air quality in the same ways. It depends how the plant grows and the different microorganisms they have in their roots and soil systems. So not all houseplants are the same.
That's really interesting. I feel like now I need to do some research on all my houseplants to see which ones are giving me the most benefits. It's really fun to have a plant, even just one. It's kind of like taking care of a little pet. So thank you so much for that answer. Here's a question for Michelle from Athens Monastery. Michelle, how can I, as a child, make a difference in greening my city?
Thanks for this question. There are so many ways to make a difference. So first, you can have fun in your city's parks and green spaces. I would say find parks and green spaces that you love. Find some favorite spaces, locations, and share them with your friends and family. I would say tell your neighbors and your community about these spaces. Because if people value and love their parks, it will attract good things like resources and care to keep those spaces nice and even to make them better. I think that so that they can provide these health benefits to us. So second, it takes an army to care for and improve our city's green resources, like the plants, trees, the parks, and other green spaces. And there are so many ways you can help. One way is through planting trees. The main tree planting seasons are the spring and the fall. And you can contact your city or its nonprofit partners to find out when tree planting events will happen. Usually they are in the spring, they're around Earth Day. And you can ask how to get involved.
Fantastic. Yeah, volunteering is always a great way not only to help nature in our communities, but also learn something new, like how to plant a tree if you've never done it before. Thank you so much. Here's a question for all three of you. So we'll start with Christy first. Several people want to know, what do you like to do outside?
I love that question. So on a daily basis, I like to get outside to walk my dogs around the neighborhood. And I live in Colorado, so in the summer months, I enjoy time growing vegetables and pollinator plants in my garden. And when I have more time, I like to go hiking in the Rocky Mountains. And if I'm going on an even longer vacation, I really enjoy visiting the ocean.
Wonderful. What about you, Monica?
I could take way too much time answering this question, but I'll say on a daily basis, I love to get out and run and walk around my neighborhood in Seattle, which has some beautiful parks. I ride my bike to work, which takes me on a bike path next to Lake Union. And then on the weekends, I like to venture out hiking, cross-country skiing. So I'm curious about the snow question earlier, on trails that are just outside the city. And Despite officially being a grown-up, I still really enjoy climbing trees. And I guess I'll also say to keep things interesting, I do jump in a lake or the ocean every month of the year. It's cold, but it's invigorating.
Fantastic. What about you, Michelle? What do you like to do outdoors?
Oh, I like to do so many things outdoors, most things. I like to be outside as much as I can. Everyday basis, I really like to take a walk when I'm feeling kind of sluggish or my energy is low or having trouble focusing. If I go outside, I feel really refreshed. And if I'm lucky, I'll see my neighbors and get to chat and catch up with them. But otherwise, I do like to do all of those things as well. I like to go hiking and, biking and outdoors camping. I love camping with my family. But some of the other little things that I like, moments of real joy that I can remember from my life, all the way back to my childhood, are doing things like flipping over rocks and just seeing and watching the bugs and all of the things under there, or going tide pooling and looking for all of the creatures. There are so many cool things to explore and witness in nature and outside if you just kind of stand still or be still and just watch and listen.
That's a fantastic answer. One of my favorite ways to get outside, at least in the spring, is learning about all the different wildflowers I have around me. And then in the summer, I really like going out on my kayak and jumping in the lake if I'm feeling brave enough. All right, our next question is for Christy. This one is from the students at St. Michael and Benton Middle Schools. Christy, how do you get vitamin D if you don't go outside?
Thank you for that question. If you don't get time in sunlight regularly, then there are other ways to get vitamin D. You can get it through the food you eat, like eating salmon or other fatty fish. You can talk with your healthcare provider if you're concerned about your vitamin D level, and they can check your vitamin D level in your blood and may suggest an oral supplement if it's really low. But if you can, go outside. That'd be great.
Yeah, I do have a small follow-up question to that, Christy. Do you get the same amount of vitamin D when you're outside, maybe during the summer versus like the cold winter?
That's a great follow-up question. You really need exposure of your skin to the sunlight. So in the winter, you may not get as much exposure if you're covered up with a hat and jacket and scarf and everything. But any sunlight you can get any season is helpful.
Great, thank you. And I know, especially for me in the winter, even if it's really cold and I would prefer to stay indoors, all cozy next to the fire, I force myself to go outside because it really helps my brain to think a lot clearer and make me just feel a lot better. Thank you so much for that answer. Monica, I have another question for you. This one is also from Benton Middle School. Monica, if I live in a heavily urbanized area with no green spaces for miles, what can I do to connect with nature?
Great question. And there are a lot of people in the world who find themselves with this issue. And, I can relate personally. I grew up in a neighborhood in New York City where there really weren't any green spaces in my immediate radius. And so for me, I got into running and biking because that increased my radius and my access to nature. My advice is to remember to think big and small when you're thinking about where to find nature. If you don't live close to a green or blue space, take in what is in your immediate environment. A lot of dense cities have wonderful street trees. Get to know the trees and plants in your neighborhood and watch how they change over the seasons. If you live near a water body, go explore its shores if you can. And take advantage of clubs and teams and other groups at school that can help you get out and types of green spaces that intrigue you, even if you can't get to them on your own 2 feet or on the subway or the bus. See if your parents or friends want to venture out with you and explore someplace new.
That's great advice. I know too, in a lot of urban environments, there's community gardens. So if you like to garden, it might be a great way to spend time outdoors and connecting with nature through the food that you're growing. All right, so Michelle, here's another question for you. This one's from Athens Montessori. and it has to do with the experiment you did. So, Michelle, in a previous episode, we talked about how you and your team divided up vacant lots in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and gave them a greening treatment. Their trash was removed, the grass was mowed, maintenance was performed, new grass and trees were planted, and a low open fence was installed, which seemed to have positive effects on the mental health of nearby residents. Do you know if the communities where the green spaces were created were able to keep them clean after the experiment concluded?
Yes. So in this case, the city, the location of this study was Philadelphia. And through its nonprofit partner, the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, and among others, it maintains these vacant lots throughout the year. But especially during the growing season. So that means that paid crews go and clean up any trash, they mow the grass, and they keep fences in good condition. And this is regularly throughout the year. Yeah, so the city takes care. But there are other types of green spaces like this where it's the nearby residents and neighbors who are taking care of these spaces.
Fantastic. So it seems like it's a real community effort to keep these places nice and green and healthy. We have a question from our live audience right now from Benton Middle School. So this might be a great question for all of you to answer. So we'll start with Christy. What are some fun things to do outside if my friends aren't around?
Oh, okay. So, depending on where you are, you can, there are definitely things that you can play. You can play basketball or kick a soccer ball around, on your own. You can explore. I love Michelle's idea. She mentioned earlier of just looking under rocks and looking in the bushes and looking in the trees. The other day when I did a walk, yesterday when I did a walk with my dogs, I was looking up into the trees, and without all the foliage, I could see some of the bird nests. And so that was really fun too. So there's so much that you can do on your own, even if your friends can't join you.
Yeah, thank you. Monica, do you have any suggestions for our viewers?
Yeah, and I'd say I love time I spend outdoors with my family and friends and canine friends and human friends. Um, but time outside by yourself is really special too. It's quiet, it gives you a chance to think and look and take in what's around you. Um, if you like taking photographs, taking pictures on your own can help you remember the places you've been and share the experience with others later. Um, but yeah, find a quiet place, I don't know, sitting under a tree and watching the squirrels play can do wonders for your imagination. So don't be afraid to be by yourself.
Thank you. And Monica, do you have any suggestions for things to do outside by yourself?
Yeah. Well, when you're by yourself, it's a good time to do things that are quiet and maybe even just to listen. I think that bird watching is a great thing to do when you're by yourself because you won't have others to talk to and scare away the birds, right? So it's a good time to watch and listen.
That's fantastic. I do also like to nature journal outdoors to record all the observations I make when I'm on my own. We have another live viewer question. This one is for any one of you that want to answer. Um, can I build my own green space in my backyard?
I'd say the answer is yes, if your parents allow it. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity to me to get to use your imagination and dig in the dirt and imagine what your backyard could look like. Christy, or was it Michelle mentioned pollinators earlier? I think, thinking about other people and other animals that might appreciate the green space too, and you're thinking about your design is a wonderful way to think of, all the benefits that your yard can offer to others.
I'll briefly add, I mentioned earlier that I enjoy gardening and growing vegetables, and so that could be another way to green your backyard again with your parents' permission. But what would you like to see growing? What would you like to eat? And that can be really fun to do as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. I know it's also really fun to research the native plants in your area to really help support that native pollinator population where you live. And every place is a little bit different. So my native plants over here where I live in California is way different than maybe where Monica grew up in New York. All right, so our next question is for Christy from Benton Middle School again. Does your physical health affect your mental health the same way your mental health affects your physical health?
That is a really interesting question. And as your question states, your physical health does affect your mental health, and your mental health does affect your physical health. So it's really hard to think about a person's health in just one area or one space. We are whole human beings, and our health encompasses all aspects of ourselves. So the wonderful thing about being outside and enjoying nature is that we know that it benefits both our physical and mental health.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Monica, I have another question for you. This one is from Benton Middle School. They had a ton of questions for this live stream, which we love. Monica, if having a plant in your home makes people feel calm, can a fake plant do the same?
Yeah, good question. So of course, an artificial plant can't do all of the things that a real plant can do, like improve air quality. But there are important functions that fake plants can have. For example, their aesthetic value can offer psychological benefits like making people calmer or happier. Research has shown that the positive effects that even pictures of plants can have on people. Humans find nature beautiful. And so the answer is yes. Representations of nature, such as fake plants, can and do have a positive effect on people.
Great, thank you so much. I have another live question for you all. So whomever would like to answer it can jump on in. So our question is, one of the researchers shared that nature videos also impact mental health. Sorry. Can it be used for those who can't go into green spaces? How much does it impact you? So if you're watching a video of nature when you can't go outdoors.
I could answer that question. Yeah, so there are things that nature videos can do. I think the two main things are to help restore our focus, to help us calm down, and especially if we have a nice quiet space that's comfortable. If we're watching nature videos, it can help us, calm down, to de-stress, and perhaps even to regain our focus. If we're not able to go outside, right, and we need to remain sitting in a chair, with our, watching a nature video, it's not going to help us with our physical activity, for example, and all of the benefits that might come with that. But sure, there are lots of good things that can come from nature videos.
Great, thank you. So Christy, I have a question for you from Athens Montessori. Can being pets have the same health benefits as being out in nature?
I really like this question. As I mentioned before, I have 2 dogs at home, and I notice that I feel better when I spend time with them. The National Institutes of Health has some information and talks about the health benefits of interacting with animals. And spending time with your beloved pets can decrease levels of stress hormone and lower blood pressure. It can also reduce loneliness and boost your mood. Being out in nature also decreases your stress hormone and lowers blood pressure and boosts your mood as well. So I like, as I mentioned, walking my dog around the neighborhood. So I get a double benefit of pet time and outside time. So if you can, play with your pet in your backyard or outdoor patio, or go for a walk with them.
Great, thank you. I know I'm super excited to get outside later today. I'm learning so much. So thank you all, and thank you all for your questions. But sadly, it looks like we hit our time limit. So we're going to wrap things up for the day. We're so sorry to go, but don't worry. If we missed your question or if you think of one later, you can always send them to fsconservationeducation@gmail.com. You can feel free to let us know what you thought of this program. I want to thank all our friends who helped us today from the USDA Forest Service and the Natural Enquirer. Let's say farewell to our wonderful panelists today. Christy, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Sure. Thanks for watching, and get out in nature. Enjoy time with your pets and your loved ones outside.
Right on. Thank you. How about you, Monica? Any final words?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for all the wonderful questions. And yeah, I also hope you get outside and get to explore the wonders around you, whether they're small or large.
Thanks. And Michelle, would you like to close us out?
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me. I loved hearing all of your questions, and I'm thinking of you all as beginning or starter researchers, and I would love to see you grow and build skills so that you can answer your own research questions.
Absolutely. Thank you all again for participating. And of course, a big thanks to all of you watching. I want to give a thank you to our friends at the National Environmental Education Foundation, especially Christy Haas-Howard, and the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, especially Dr. Barbara Rolnick. They were both great resources for helping us put together this amazing information in this series. Remember to check out the other 3 episodes in Nature Health Benefits Live, which are episodes 1, 2, and 3, available on the Natural Enquirer YouTube channel. Nature Health Benefits Live is a part of the FS Nature Live series. Check out all our programs at fsnaturelive.org, where we have programs on climate change, fresh water, grasslands, pollinators, and much more. In fact, we have another program coming up in October 2024, so this year, called Smokey Bear Live 4, where we'll talk about some wildfire case studies and what can be done to prevent similar disasters. Those videos, and really all of our videos, will be available to watch on the Natural Enquirer YouTube channel. The FS Nature Live series is brought to you by a partnership with the Natural Enquirer and the USDA Forest Service. The Forest Service manages about 193 million acres of national forests and grasslands throughout the United States. They also work in partnership with tribal and state governments and private landowners to benefit another 600 million acres, not to mention all our work that we do internationally. Meanwhile, the Natural Enquirer is a program that takes scientific research papers and rewrites them into easy-to-understand language for students at many different grade levels. All of their materials are free to order or download on their website. In fact, on their site, they even offer resources about nature health benefits, and some of them are from our friends at the Environmental Protection Agency. So after you finish this video, you might as well keep exploring and learn from all of these amazing resources. In the meantime, get outside and stay healthy. See you next time.